Good morning, everyone, and happy Trace de Mayo. Welcome to MBH Settlement Group's 5th annual de Mayo education event. I'm Fred Westerlin, the CEO of MBH Settlement Group. Today, we're offering 10 different classes led by our experts at MBH and District Title. We're enabling you to mix and match your classes to get the 3 credit hours you need with the classes that fit your needs. Now let's do a quick overview of today's events. Right now, we're going to start it off with our panel of experts to discuss thriving in today's economy with both residential and commercial perspectives. We'll announce the grand prize winner of the margarita machine at about noon after the panel, and then we'll take a break. Then at 12:30, all the CE classes will begin. Then we'll take another break before we begin celebrating our newly acquired knowledge at our in-person happy hours at 4:30. I hope to see many of you at one of our happy hours today. They're being held in DC, Gainesville, Stafford, and Tysons. So hope to see really all of you there. After the event, you'll receive an email seeking feedback on the event. Please respond to it. Your feedback is important to us. Every year we do tweak this event for the next year based on your feedback. So we look forward to hearing from you with that. All right, let's now get to our panelists. First, I'll introduce them before we start the discussion. Start off with Cornelius Henderson II. Cornelius is the leader of the Henderson Group with REMAX Allegiance, specializing in all aspects of real estate sales in the DMV. Cornelius has been a real estate investor since 2007 and an agent since 2008. His background as a CPA, certified public accountant, provides technical market expertise and business savvy not typically found in a real estate salesperson. Awards and accolades for Cornelius and the Henderson Group include 4 consecutive years in the Platinum Club and membership in the REMAX Hall of Fame. Welcome, Cornelius. KaTrina Scott. KaTrina is the owner and founder of the Purple Key team with Keller Williams Metro Center. KaTrina is licensed in Virginia, Maryland, and DC, with a network reaching well beyond the DMV. KaTrina is a member of KWMC's Agent Leadership Committee and of the Institute for Luxury Home Marketing. KaTrina is also a military relocation specialist who loves working with veterans. KaTrina prides herself on her customer service. She is one of Zillow and Trulia's premier agents, achieving a 5-star rating. Welcome, KaTrina. Mary Beth Eisenhard. Mary Beth started in real estate in 1993 and has 30 years of experience in markets such as California, North Carolina, and Northern Virginia. Last year, Mary Beth sold 74 homes with $43 million in production. At Long & Foster, she leads the Eisenhard Group, which has been one of Long & Foster's top 20 teams every year since 2015. Mary Beth has been a top producer for both Coldwell Banker and Long & Foster, and has been a Buffini & Company peak performer since 2005. Welcome, Mary Beth. Omni Casey, known as Omni the Investor Guy. Omni has been a real estate investor, coach, broker, and mentor for over 20 years. Omni achieved financial freedom through cash flow real estate investments and is the founder of the Cash Flow Breakfast Club, a real estate investor club and mastermind group. Omni also founded New Leaf Redevelopers and BRRRR Capital Ventures, and is a published author. Omni has been the guest speaker on numerous business and investor podcasts and was a Loudoun County 40 Under 40 award winner with Weichert Realtors. Welcome, Omni. Tim Neal. Tim Neal is the CEO of the Real Deal team at eXp Realty, serving Northern Virginia and Maryland. He has over 9 years of experience as a licensed realtor and certified mentor, and serves as an Agent Academy instructor with the Dream Team. A retired Army officer and war veteran, Tim holds a designation as a national expansion team builder with a passion for helping new agents. Tim is a top producer whose awards and designations include multiple Association $1 Million Producer Awards and multi-year Capper Awards. Welcome, Tim, and thank you for your service. All right, I'd like to thank all of our panelists for joining us. We appreciate your participation today. We can all go off mute. And let's go ahead and begin the discussion. All right, we'll start with an easy one on interest rates. While interest rates are they're not historically high, right? They're higher than they have been in recent years. How do you navigate the current interest rate environment? KaTrina?
You will ask me first. So, I mean, I think everybody kind of agrees, and I feel like everybody's really kind of saying the same thing. You know, you marry the house, date the rate. I did have this conversation with someone yesterday and just letting them know that historically rates have been in the double digits. So this is good for the economy. And I think we're probably where we're going to be for a minute. They may go down a little bit, but who knew that they would go down to the 2%? I don't think in my lifetime I'll ever see that again. But I don't know, somebody else can speak because I think it's overall agree on the same thing. Marry the house, date the rate.
Well, when I bought my very first house in 2001, and I didn't know what I was doing, first time home buyer. And I called my uncle. I said, "Hey, I got a 5.99 rate. Is that good?" He said, "Boy, it's the cheapest money you ever gonna see in your life." And so, rates go up and down, and we had I think we forget we had a pandemic. Like literally, the world was almost feeling like it was gonna stop. So we had to do whatever we needed to do to escalate and keep things going. And so if you took advantage, great, but that's just not really normal. I don't think anybody else here has been in a pandemic over their lifetime. So just once in a lifetime, we're just getting back to normal, in my opinion.
One thing that I say to all of our buyers is you live in the payment, not in the price. It's all about what your payment is. And I say that over and over and over again so that lenders and buyers memorize it to such a fashion that they know you're living in the payment. The other thing too, a lot of people nowadays, we will remind them, get in now, and then when the rates improve, do a streamlined refinance based on the kind of financing you have. I also jokingly tell everybody, back in 1981, when I bought my first house in Coppers Cove, Texas, because we were both in the Army station at Fort Hood, our first mortgage, our interest rate was 18.5%. And we always tell the story that when rates went, because I've been in real estate 30 years, when rates came down under 10, Jesus is coming, we're having a party. So I tell people that 6 is not that bad. And I can remember all the years ago when we thought 6 and 7 were really good rates.
Excellent points. Excellent points. All right, we're going to move on to inventory here. As a listing agent, how do you determine the best offer when there are so many on the table? Cornelius, do you want to jump into that?
Yeah. The best offer, the first and foremost, the best offer is the offer that my client wants. So it's not really necessarily my decision. So for instance, you will have a client who may decide, hey, I'm willing to take a risk maybe on a riskier file in terms of looking at the credit profile for the higher price. And then you have other clients who are like, I'm going to take the lower offer, maybe even a cash offer, if they can close in 17 days, and they're removing all the contingencies. So it's really, we do what's called an offer comparison, and we compare each of the offers and really walk through the risks. And for instance, we just had one last week where my client they took the lowest offer because it eliminated the contingencies. And that's what they wanted. They wanted to be solid in that versus other people will decide, hey, no, I want the price, may not be that pressure and things of that sort. So it's really understanding your client and making sure you do what's in their best interest versus what you necessarily may feel. That's at least the way I approach it.
How about you, Tim? Do you have a similar approach?
Similar approach, and I actually do a spreadsheet. It's a sales spreadsheet, and it has all on one side. It has how much was their down payment, closing costs, everything they ask for on the one side, and then I have it in categories, offer 1 through 10, and they're side by side, and then I have it net at the bottom of what they're gonna net at the end of the day, because some people different escalation clauses, and somebody, because I have had cash offers that came in. The cash offer was good, but they wanted a home inspection and they wanted to negotiate for repairs, and the cash offer wasn't too much above the regular offer. So I can see right there, knowing the condition of the house, I'm like, I know they'll probably come through, pick this house apart, and at the end of the day, we may end up lower. And then even at the same time, some people may have a hard offer, but they have a FHA addendum in there. They won't pull appraisal, and I know it's going to drop back down to that price. So I let my clients, I'm advising them, let them know what the best offers at the end of the day, what they're going to net. But here are some of the things that can happen if the appraisal doesn't go through. Then we're back down, we're even with everybody else. So that offer is not stronger than the other offer, unless we go back, do some pushback, and ask them to maybe make some adjustment with their offer. So I just consult with my clients of what offers we have on the table, and then find out what we need to push back on, if maybe we can get a better or stronger offer.
So cash is not always king. Sometimes the financing offers are much better.
Absolutely. We have a lot of lenders here in the area, at least in DC, that are able to close in 10 days. So at least those are the lenders that I work through with my buyers. So they're almost equivalent to cash on that, in that scenario. So it's all about all the terms that are involved. And I think Tim nailed it on the head with looking at those. My offer comparison is the same thing. I use a Google sheet, look at all those terms, and that allows you to really pinpoint and compare terms and see what's truly the best one out there.
Right. Fred, if I could add something real quick to that, for someone who represents mostly buyers, in helping the seller make their decision to select our offer, I think, because we have other agents, listen, I think a good, clean offer goes a long way, because I have beat out a lot of cash offers by making sure that the contract is filled out correctly and it's neat, and calling the agent and building a relationship with the other agent, and having a conversation and letting them know how we solidly do work, having the lender follow up and call after the offer is sent to make the connection, to let them know that our client is solid. So I think that kind of adds value too in helping listing agents, select an offer with their seller.
Right. If I can just chime in, as a primarily listing agent, she's 100% correct. So when you can do like one PDF, easily reference, like I know when I put in an offer, I'll reference the pages in my PDF on the front, so they can know exactly where to go for the lender letter. The lender calls in, all those things KaTrina said probably will make, they'll even, if you come, like if KaTrina comes, and even if she's not the first, I'll be like, hey, can you possibly match that? I'll talk to the lender.
Yes.
Like, can you match this? Because she's going to be the one who's going to get the deal through, versus somebody who just gets you 15 files, randomly in pieces from some, all these different, it's a mess, and you don't want
that would be messy.
Yes.
I'll say also, in a crazy market where we're seeing multiple offers, it's helpful to prep your seller. So I like to give them actual sample offers even before we hit the market. Here's what an FHA offer looks like. Here's what an all cash offer might look like. So if they're seeing like the 3 or 4 most common templates that they might see ahead of time, they can get to review that and absorb that a little bit. Because if they are day 2 reviewing 10 offers and they're all got these triggers in there, and it's their first time selling a home in 10 years, it's overwhelming for them, right? And no matter the decision they make, they kind of feel frustrated because they were, thrown into this fire of not understanding it, right? So you give them a little bit of prep time, even if it's a couple days ahead, they feel better about their situation. You get an offer that's identical to one of your sample offers, they start to think, man, this guy knows what he's doing. Makes you look like a hero prepping them for that.
Good tip.
Are there any daily habits, any best practices that you've found give you success over the years that in this market you think are particularly important? Anything that you'd like to share with any of the audience Tim, do you have any?
Well, daily practices, really, I kind of have a morning routine that I start with to kind of get me in the right mind frame of how I'm gonna start my day. So I already kind of know what's going on. And that's just kind of from my military background, getting up early in the morning. They used to say in the Army, we do more before 9 o'clock than people do all day. So yeah, I get up early. I start my exercise. I get up about 4 o'clock, start reading, get my affirmations in, go to the gym, come back. But I already kind of have like it may be a little anal, but I have like a little spreadsheet that I actually, it's like not a spreadsheet, but a daily journal. And it's kind of like, reading, do my affirmation, workout, do my mental, personal development. And then, I got a call that we get on with my team 4 times a week. We get on there from 8 to 9. We start talking about some of the wins we got, some of the things we got going on, coordination. And then I jump straight into time blocking into lead generation. Start calling the buyers, the sellers, and doing follow-up calls throughout the day. And if I got any networking events or things like that I have on my schedule, go out, make sure I have those blocked out on luncheons that I'm meeting with people like that. So kind of be more systematic than just kind of haphazardly, because once that phone rings and you can be all over the place real quick. So I try to, I used to do it like that for a long time, but I try to really stick to it. And I have one of these for every single day of the week that I fill it out in the morning. I know it's kind of anal, but it helps me. So.
If it works, it works.
Yeah, I love that. I do the exact same thing. Miracle morning, right? So it's just understanding, getting yourself into that mindset, into that zone. There's a flow state that you can get into. Sounds kind of woo-woo, but it's through, calmness and if you're in this hyper flow state and you get work done like in 1 hour, it's like you're so productive versus like 1 hour in that flow state. After putting yourself into that right mental state is like as productive as the rest of the day, if not the rest of the week. So I block that miracle morning to try and get myself into the right state of mind. And then whatever my most important task for that day is, I put it right after that. So if I'm lead generating, if I'm team building, whatever it is, I'm going to make sure that I'm going into that task for an hour and a half in the best optical state of mind. And then the rest of the day happens, and hopefully you get stuff out of the rest of the day. But if you get that best most key element done that day, it's already a win to start off the day.
Mary Beth, do you have any you'd like to share?
Well, I've read Miracle Morning, so I agree to that. And I also agree to what Tim is saying. I believe it's all about your priorities. There's an old saying, when your priorities are clear, your choices are easy. And so I have a team, and I do the morning ritual, like Tim explained, the morning affirmations, the reading, the working out, but then it's all about relationships for us. I've been in Buffini coaching for 22 years, nonstop in every market. And part of that is, and our business is 100% by referral. We do not pay for advertising. We are 100% referral with our past clients and our relationships. So our PBS, personal business standard, is each team member has so many calls they have to make a week, so many personal notes they have to write, and so many pop buys they have to do every week. We have a team huddle call every morning at 9, lasts about 10 minutes. My operations manager sets it up. And then we have a team meeting every Tuesday from 9:30 to 11, where we go through what's in our pipeline. For me, as the rainmaker, the lead generator, the head of the team, my focus is on our A+ clients. A+ is defined as someone who's given you multiple referrals that have closed. And then I'll go through the pendings and I'll go through the actives. So I'm really focused on our best of our best relationships. And then the team is picking up the A's and the B's and the C's. And so together, our goal is that we're touching, calling, writing a note, doing a pop by every client. Every person who's in our database should be getting at least 1 call a month. And so when you work by building relationships, we want to be the people whose name comes right off the tip of their tongue. So lead generation is important to me. And it's like Front Load has my favorite person, Susan Surkamp, who's a lender with M&T, says, go ugly early, make those calls first. Don't say no, and no skipping rule. That's a Kate Ryan thing. If you're skipping, they shouldn't be on your list, because you need to get on the phone with them no matter what. So we're very diligent. And I know on Tuesday, on our team meeting every Tuesday, it's accountability time. And the Brian Moran 12-week year, WHAM, weekly accountability meeting. We have weekly accountability every single Tuesday. How many calls, how many notes, how many pop-bys, how many face-to-face, voice-to-voice business lunches did you do? Because in this market, this is all about relationships and building relationships. So that to me is paramount. It's been a hard year for everyone across the country. We have to remember it's relationships will win the day every day, always.
And KaTrina, in this environment, how are you keeping buyers' expectations realistic?
Well, I'm very transparent in this business. And when I meet new clients, I tell them I'm going to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. So, and I break things down to them. I explain the full process. I let them know how it could completely go wrong and how it's going to completely be a win for them. In explaining, I guess just keeping them, I think education is best. And it fully just making sure they understand. I don't rush my clients through the process. I make sure that they understand the financial piece of the puzzle first. We're not going out seeing houses until you understand, your finances, because it's nothing like getting to the table and something goes crazy. I need you to know how much money you have. I need you to understand what your monthly payment is going to be, understand your interest rate and the total out-of-pocket cost. If you're getting a grant, understand that you're going to have to give this money back later, or just breaking these things down and educating the buyer through the process. And then as far as the market is concerned, when inventory was super, super low, it's still kind of crazy because people still call me and say, oh, I want to, $2,000 payment. I'm like, okay, well, where's that? But anyway, just explaining to them I lost my thought. Just the process and how it goes. The inventory is slow and what they're looking for. We may have to just kind of get in where we fit in. Sometimes it's a matter of this may not be the home, but it'll be the home that'll catapult you to getting the home that you really want. You buy this house, you build some equity, maybe even some sweat equity, and then we get you into the next house in a couple of years. So I think transparency, and I think somebody has said it, Cornelius or Mary Beth talked about communication. In this business, communication, I think, is the biggest piece of the puzzle. Communicating with your agent partners, your lender partners, and your clients. When you are proactive and provide the information on the front end, it takes away so much stress on the back.
One thing I would share that on top of what KaTrina said, because she just said education, nobody goes and looks at a house with our team unless they come into the office first. That's a Floyd Wickman CITO. That's back in the 90s. Come into the office first or do a Zoom call with us. Education is so important to today's buyer. So we will not show a house until they have that initial, what we call buyer consultation. And, a lot of people don't even know what PITI means. So we have a form we show them, and we literally walk them through the whole PITI thing. But KaTrina hit the nail on the head when she said education is key. Buyers have to be educated in the market we're in, but they're going to, once everybody knows they're buying, their mother, their father, their uncle, their coworkers are all going to tell them about their success stories. This is not the COVID market.
No, and I tell people that what we were doing back in September of 2022 is not what we're doing today. So whatever that person's experience is, it's not going to be yours, because the market has changed. I mean, in the last, 2.5 years, we've done a whole 360 probably 3 times in this market and how things have gone. And I mean, you have to explain that to the clients. And I always say, if you have your auntie who wants to add their opinion, let's get them on the call too, so I can break them down.
Did you have anything you wanted to add to that, Tim? In terms of buyer expectations and keeping them realistic?
Yeah, and just what everybody said, Mary Beth and KaTrina, really the consultation is so important. I like to spend more time on that. And I have a packet that I put together, and it has everything in there from, the pre-approval, getting, what the market conditions are right now, and then everything go along with that, even down to the home inspection. And the other thing that I also throw in there, I don't even know if I got it right here, but it's a MBH. Always give them a home buyer's guide. Every person gets this, and I actually use some of this when I'm going through what happens when the contract comes in. What's the next step? Because it walks them through it, and I go through that whole process. Where do we go? One track goes to the mortgage lender, one goes down to the title. And I use this book. All my clients get a digital copy and a hard copy. So I give them something tangible to leave behind. After I explain all the steps, they have a whole book binder that they take with them. So I said, if you ever get to a point and you're confused about something or you got a question, here's a book that you can reference. And they're like, oh, this is mine. Yeah, absolutely, this is yours. So they're able to really, hear at that time, but then just in case, as they're getting excited about homes and things like that, we can go back and reference that. So really, is the education up front.
That looks like an incredibly useful tool.
Yeah, and what I do is actually, yeah, I know you like that, right? Actually, I have like these pocket presentation folders, and I put everything in there, and it's a buyer's consultation, everything is in there, and then I give that whole thing to them along with the book, and that way they got something tangible to take. You can get these on Amazon, nice and pretty.
Nice, nice. I do have a couple of questions pertaining to helping out newer agents, but I wanted to go over to Omni for a minute, and maybe this isn't an agent new to real estate, but someone who wants to get into commercial. How would you answer this question if someone asked you, hey, Omni, how do I position myself to get into commercial real estate?
Yeah, I would say like any other business venture. So commercial real estate is completely different than the residential side. There's just different contracts, different knowledge base, different tools, different subscriptions. So understanding you're trying to set up a new business. And when you set up any new business, there's 3 pillars that help you accelerate, right? Finding the right mentor, finding the right coach, and getting a part of the right mastermind is so hard to do by themselves. So can you be a part of a community? Is there someone in your office already? Is it your broker that can be your mentor? If not, is there somewhere that you can lean on? Because saying I'm a residential agent, I want to be a commercial agent without anyone guiding you I've never seen it happen. I've never seen it happen successfully. So start with meetups, right? There's commercial specific meetups, meet those people. And the commercial world is way different than the residential world. It's kind of the wild, wild west of real estate, if you will. But once you make some good connections there, it can go a long way. The warning I give a residential agent getting into commercial is the gestation period of transactions is completely different, right? You become an agent, you go do an open house, you call a bunch of people, you're able to pick up a client maybe within, a day, a week, a month, get someone under contract and close, and you have a commission maybe 30 days later. Commercial, you might be working a client for a year or 2, get them under contract, and it might be a 3, 4, 5, 6 month contract. So it is a longer play. Often they're bigger projects, but it is much more geared towards analytical and business plans. It's less on the buyer themselves, and it's more about the buyer's business plan. Everything in commercial has to have a business plan, both commercial and real estate investing. It comes down to, I want to buy the property, but what's your plan behind owning and operating that property profitably?
Can you shed any light on the differences in terms of financing in commercial versus residential?
Yeah, there's several types of financing. So I think there's 3 buckets, right? There's residential, commercial, and investing. And investing kind of plays in both worlds there. So you have traditional buyer-based financing, right? What's my credit score? What's my debt to income? Very, very popular financing for buying homes on the residential side. You have asset-based financing, hard assets. So it has almost nothing to do with the buyer and everything to do with the hard asset that you're buying. You have business plan based buying, right? So it's a combination of the operator's experience and the asset and the business that you're able to convert that property into. And then there's relationship, and that's more along the lines of private money lending. They're going to lend to you because they trust you, and they basically are going to only lend to 1 or 2 people, and you're one of them. So those are the 4 types in terms of structure. We're used to, on the residential side, 30-year fixed, amortized mortgages. Great when you buy a rental property. You kind of set it and forget it, if you will, because you're going to keep paying that mortgage. And if you have it 30 years later, you don't have a mortgage, there's no balloon payment. In commercial and a lot of the investment models, there's typically 3-year, 5-year, and 7-year balloon payments. So if I buy a property, it's a good deal right now. I need to forecast 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 7 years from now, the economy, the value of that property, and my ability to get another loan in 3 years, 5 years, or 7 years, because you can own a property that has a 25-year amortization on it, but the bank makes you balloon payment in 3 to 5 years. And if you're not qualified or the economy is not sustaining, you might have to bring money to the table to be able to refinance, or you're forced to sell. So it is much more along the lines of understanding the trends and making some predictions when it comes to commercial financing versus residential.
Very interesting. All right, thank you. Appreciate that. Those were a couple of questions from the audience. I want to take a moment here to thank everyone who registered for sending in their questions. That's the purpose of the panel, to help all of you out. Cornelius, can I ask you about finding off-market properties?
Yeah, I got myself started by investing. So that's how I started. I worked in sources were probates and landlords evicting tenants. Those were my primary lead sources. Then you go into absentee owners, built it up to attorneys, things of that sort. But and I got licensed later as the market downturned in order to just buy the REO properties by myself. But one of the things I specialize when I do get referred buyers is because I do know how to find properties off market. And I have just, like I mentioned, many of those, you just have to get creative in terms of looking for, like, you can go back, I'll go through some lead sources, you can go through old expired listings, old canceled, things of that sort, probates, attorneys. The MLS is a treasure trove of information if you know how to mine it. And you just think of situations, like most people just think of pre-foreclosure, and that's definitely fine, but you can, there's so many ways to locate off-market properties. And this really helped out during a pandemic. One of my clients was pregnant and what is it? It's not nursing, but the point where they're really ready to make their home theirs. She was really antsy, and we had to locate. She was looking in Chevy Chase, DC, and we were able to. The first property we found off market, it was kind of crazy because the people couldn't move into their nursing home because the kids weren't able to come. But we were able to find another property off market and get them the home that they were looking for. And that was a time where everybody was taking their homes off the market. So there wasn't literally anything on the market. You just have to be really creative and dig there, talk to a lot of different agents as well as homeowners and find what they're looking for.
One thing that worked well for me a couple of years ago, and I'm using it again today, if you have a buyer who wants a specific neighborhood, so let's use Countryside in Sterling as a neighborhood, and a buyer wants a single family home in that specific neighborhood. So I tell the buyers, okay, because if you don't like the house from the front, you're probably not going to want to buy it. So drive around that neighborhood and write down every single street address for the properties of the homes that you like from the outside that you could possibly see yourself living there. Then what you do is you send what we call in Buffiniville, I have a buyer for your house. Then you type up a very personal letter that says, my name is, I'm currently working with a ready, qualified, and willing buyer who is willing to pay fair market value for your home. They love your neighborhood, they've driven by your home, and they've identified your home as a home they could see themselves living in. You do that, and off of those letters, last year, I sent out 29 letters. A couple of years ago, I sent out 28 letters to a neighborhood in Centerville, and I actually got 2 calls, and one of those houses those buyers bought. So that's another idea for finding off-market properties for something that maybe the seller wasn't thinking about. You can always look at the tax record and see who's lived there the longest. And if they bought it last year, they're probably not selling unless there's something major happening. But if they bought it a long time ago, they probably have a lot of equity and they might consider. But I always put in the letter, fair market value if the price is right. And that's how you get in the door.
That's where the MLS is powerful, looking at those dates, because that's important. Many times, most people do move every 7 to 10 years. So that's where you can play around with the algorithms there. And you also have many lead providers now that provide different searches and algorithms that are likely to list. So we target those as well for certain neighborhoods that people are looking for.
I was very similar to Cornelius. I was a real estate investor before as an agent, back in Hawaii, where I'm from originally. And I wanted to be an investor, right? Found a mentor, and I had no experience, I had no money. And so I'm trying to figure out, how do I get into a deal? He's like, you don't have experience, you don't have money, you got to go find a deal, right? And so he gave me some tasks, and there's something called driving for dollars, very similar to what Mary Beth mentioned buyers do, but from the investor side, you go drive, you're finding a property that looks vacant, looks not like forgotten, and you're trying to figure out who that homeowner is, right? And say, hey, it looks like you have a property, it's vacant, or it's occupied, but the tenants are trashing it. Do you want to upload it possibly? Right. And so very similar. And when I became an agent, that skill set became so crucial in helping me pick up and find listings as well.
Thank you, Omni. Mary Beth, one of the questions that came in, which you've already addressed, very helpful, had to do with everything being so automated and virtual. How do you remain high touch and stay in contact with leads and past clients? And you've taken us through that in great detail, which we really appreciate. In a related question, you were saying that your business is 100% referral based. So one of the questions pertaining to newer agents and so forth had to do with, how did you extend your sphere outside of your friends and family when you first started? What were your first successful prospecting activities? So we know where you're at now. You've got this high touch model. You've overcome the virtual, automated challenges. How did you get there?
Well, that's a great question for me, because I've reinvented myself 3 times. I started real estate in Southern California, Northern Alabama, Huntsville, and then Northern Virginia 20 years ago. When I moved here 20 years ago, I didn't know anybody but the Long and Foster agent who sold me my house, and they were going to give me referrals. So as a brand new agent, these are my top tips. And some people aren't going to agree with them, but you know what? Take the meat, throw away the bones. Never leave home without your name tag on. If you're not wearing a name tag, you're a secret agent. Wear something that says you're in real estate. The only time I don't wear a name tag is if I'm at the gym working out, but there's a lot of people there that know I'm in real estate anyway. That's number 1. Number 2, I would tell you to go do open houses. If you don't have any listings, I would find people in your company, EXP, Keller Williams, Weichert, REMAX, Long and Foster. And even if they're not in your office, but maybe there's a listing in your neighborhood that an agent from Alexandria has, and you say, hey, I live in the neighborhood, I want to bring in people, can I sit your listing open? Do open houses. And when you do those open houses, give away something that shows you are a realtor. Popcorn, thanks for popping by my open house. A bottle of water with a label of the open house and the picture of the house on it and your contact information. Do something so that you ask them for their information. You can go high tech and bring in iPads and all kinds of stuff, or you can just ask them to sign in on an open house sheet. Take an open house sheet, make sure you've had someone who doesn't have your handwriting, but put in their name just so that somebody shows they signed that open house sheet. That's number 2. Number 3 is get to know your neighbors. A true story. When I moved here and I live on a cul-de-sac, and I'm out in Gainesville, for a lot of you people, that's like BFE, but I'm in Gainesville. And when I first moved here, I went to my neighbors and said, I'm new and I'm in real estate, and I want to know if you want to be part of my mailing list. And once a month, I'm going to send you an item of value, and I'm going to pop by and give you a few little tchotchke things on occasion. I got to know my neighbors really well. If you have children in school, use your kids, volunteer for organizations, whether they're elementary, middle school, or high school. Volunteer, be some part of school. So that's all tied in here. And what I would do when I first moved here, back to the neighbor piece, I would take my neighbor across the street, say, Paige, there's a new home that just came on the market. Do you want to go see it? Find someone in your neighborhood who wants to go see houses. You have those people. And then when you're showing them the house, you say, here's your dialogue. Who do you know would be a great fit for our neighborhood? You don't say, and this is to new agents, don't use questions like, do you know anyone thinking of buying or selling? Who do you know is thinking of buying or selling in the next 3, 6, 9 months that I can serve the way I've served you? Or, and if you feel like you're inexperienced, don't worry. I've got 2,000 hours worth of experience back at the office. If I don't know the answer to your question, I've got the people to call. So I think for me, wear your name tag, get involved in something. If you don't have children or you're an empty nester, you can do volunteering somewhere. And then I also think do get to know inventory. The last thing I would say about getting to know inventory is pick homes in your zip code that are currently on the market. Go preview them. As a brand new agent coming to this market, and also in Alabama, I would set aside Tuesdays and Thursdays from 11 to 1 to go preview 10 to 20 homes every week. That way I got to know inventory. And when someone talks to you, you'll say, hey, I just saw this great house down the street. This is all about it. There's my answer.
of it.
Sorry, I
Excellent.
know
A
I
lot-
talk really fast.
No, it's great. A lot of actionable steps in there. Sure, much appreciated by the audience. Tim, you had so Mary Beth restarted 3 times, Mary Beth, or was it
Yeah.
4?
3.
Great.
So
Okay.
California, Alabama, and Virginia.
Okay. And then Tim, after a 20-year career in the military, you went into real estate. You quickly grew your business. Do you have any advice for the audience and newer agents in terms of breaking out beyond kind of your immediate circle to develop the business, the leads and the referral sources and grow your network?
Really, to be honest, as Omni said, you need a good mentor. Even coming into real estate and residential real estate, I think it's who you surround yourself around. You could be a part of a company, a nice company brand, and I've met people from all different walks, different brands. And a lot of times the key to their early success, some people are just go-getters. They get out there and boom, but that's normally not the norm, okay? That's got more an exception in the norm. And so I think if you plug into somebody that can mentor you, shadow you, show you how to do things, because a lot of times, because I'm a certified mentor, and I've been doing it for about 7 years now. And the thing is, when I bring in a new agent, first thing I do, after we sit down and kind of, get everything up and running, MLS, and, they get their, the regular things they need to get done as far as business cards, then we kind of talk about the next steps as, let's go out to an open house. Let me show you how to do an open house. Here are the templates for the open house. Let's go shadow me with a buyer's appointment or a listing appointment. Here's my template. This is what I use, but here's some other ones in case this one fits you a little bit more. So it's really having somebody that you can learn from, because that's what we learned in the military. They didn't just give us a rifle and say, just go out there and just shoot. No, you always had somebody that taught you, drill sergeant, they were yelling in your ear, but you learned. They taught you and trained you, you walk, crawl, run. That's how we did it. They show you, and then you follow them, and then they want you to do it. And so I think that's the quickest way that you can get up and running, because you can try to figure this thing out by yourself, and you may, but it'll take you a lot longer, because we have team members that just started in real estate, and they're out producing people that's been in 5-10 years. And the difference was because they had a mentor that said, they had a question. No, this is how you negotiate a contract. Things that it takes us years to learn, they're learning right out the gate. So I think that really helped me, for my mentor and the circle of people that I was around, to help me propel me forward quickly.
Can I,
So
can,
go ahead, Corny. Yep, go ahead.
I just
please.
wanted to piggyback off that for a new agent. Although I was licensed, I was only investing since 2008. And then I kept getting requests to work with people, but I was afraid to, because I was scared to work with the public, because I had so much knowledge. I was afraid. When I made the decision, I went to the top agents in the office that I was going to, and I said, hey, what do I do to start? And they were like, go hire a coach. And they said either Buffini, Sweat Hogs, which is Floyd Wickman, or Mike Ferry. And I personally joined Mike Ferry. And so, like, in terms of building a business, like I know Mary Beth does Buffini, Mike Ferry is kind of what we joke, many of us joke, is it's Buffini on steroids, where the more deals that you take, whether it's expired, for sale by owner, I'm after everything. So I talk to way outside of the sphere, but the more past clients you have, the more your network increases, the more success you have. So the biggest thing, because my closest associate here in my office is a Buffini agent. We exchange ideas all the time. He'll tell me he's never going to do the stuff I do because I'm very bold and things of that sort. But he's also taught me how to work my database as well in terms of nurturing. But whatever it is you do, whatever method, pick a coach and a mentor and then stick with it. And don't dibble dabble, not dibble dabble, but stick with it, because there's all these paths to success. And as long as you follow a path, you'll have that success. But if you try to recreate the wheel on your own, it makes no sense. And many brokerages I know have their own coaching and things of that sort as well, locally here in the area.
I'm hearing coach, I'm hearing mentor. I know Omni really recommends a mentor to get into commercial. And I'm going to go to Omni on that in a minute, but Tim, Cornelius, Mary Beth, KaTrina, are mentor and coach the same thing? If
No.
not, tell me how did you find tell the audience really, how did you find your mentor? And I just heard you found your coach, Cornelius, through consulting with some of the top agents. That
Yeah,
led you to a coach.
Yeah.
What about I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I was.
Or a
Like-
mentor, well, I'm in Buffini, and so I'm also a mentor. So I teach Buffini classes and I mentor other agents. So I like what Cornelia said, because in the office, when you have brand new agents, some companies have an affiliation with a new agent. They will link them up with a mentor. A coach is someone you're going to pay a month. I pay a monthly fee, a yearly fee to Buffini Company, and I have my own coach, but we're in team coaching as well. Once a month, she gets on the call, a Zoom call like this with all of my team members. The other thing I got to share that I didn't, and this is so true, if you're a new agent, you find the MBH attorney settlement person who you are located closest to. You go meet them, go introduce them, put their cell phone number in your phone. When I was nobody, this is my story. When I was nobody, I would call Art Grace for questions. Art Grace is out in Gainesville. Art Grace would always answer my call, and Art Grace would always answer my questions. And if I didn't get it the first time or the second time, he'd repeat it till I did. I would pull over in a parking lot and take notes on a Saturday afternoon at 5 o'clock because Art Grace took my phone calls. That is golden. And that is so important. And that's why I think I love MBH. I love Art Grace. I use Ryan Stewart as well, because when we go inside the Beltway, we should go to Ryan. But I mean, both of those two gentlemen are the reason we have learned so much and we have become successful, because they were always there when we asked a question.
Thank you for sharing that, Mary Beth. I love Art and Ryan too. I just wish they would return my phone calls like they seem to return yours so swiftly.
I'll get right on that.
So related to the coach and mentor, had some tips on that. Like for me, like the coach, like she said, a coach is an official. It can be unofficial, because I know certain companies, like I know our company, like one of the broker does a coaching program, things of that sort, but I pay for my monthly coaching. Mentors, when I think of mentors, I do have several mentors, and those are just agents across, and I typically try to pick somebody that's not in the area, because then they share the information with you that they're doing. And so we have different masterminds, like the mentors that have helped me grow. I went and shadowed somebody in Philadelphia that when I first started, that was a tremendous leap at the time. Like that, the year after I did that was the first year I broke 25 closed transactions. When I learned his system, I followed him. I did everything in his dialer, learned his system. He told me, stop ignoring your database, build your database right now. So I did, and everything. And now the people I'm learning for are at much higher level deals. They're at the 7,500 deal levels, which there's so many that are scattered around the country. But those are the people that will share their tips, take your calls, and kind of teach you how to get to that next level.
KaTrina, do you have a mentor or a coach? Or
I've had so many coaches. I don't think I found like the right mesh yet. So I kind of took a break from it for a while. I'm a high D, so I'm kind of a weirdo sometimes, I think, where I need somebody who's going to really be able to check me and put me in my place, and just kind of get me in that thing, because I'm kind of all over the place. A mentor, kind of like Cornelius and Mary Beth said, I think it's someone that you really respect. In our office, there's a lot of agents that I do respect. And I feel like every time I'm even just walking past them in the hallway with a 1-minute conversation, they always drop some sort of good nugget on me to kind of get me to the next level, because I'm still at the very new stages of building a team. So I think it's very important, even just like educating your clients. I think as an agent, you have to educate yourself, and you have to sit in the room with people who you admire and who have done it before you. It's no new will to reinvent. Just follow the process. Successful agents, I think for the most part, we're all kind of have done the same thing, some at higher levels than others. But don't try to recreate the wheel. Really just get in a room with someone who has done it and who's kind of got the bumps and bruises. So you don't have to get all of them. I think you're going to get some, but they can maybe protect you a little bit and put that safety net down for you to not have as many bumps and bruises. And if I could just kind of go back maybe a conversation and a half, for a new agent, I would also suggest, something that I didn't have at first, a CRM, a Excel spreadsheet or something. Like, it's very important that you keep your clients in front of you, because when you have 2 clients, it's easy to remember to call them and follow up with them. But when you have like 5,000 or 10,000 people in your database, you don't remember who you talked to an hour ago and who you're supposed to call back. So have a CRM. That's very, very important. Remember, the fortune is in the follow-up. So follow up. Everyday lead gen, talk to anybody and everybody that you know, that you can just strike up some sort of real estate conversation to let them know that you're in real estate, because closed mouths just don't get fed.
Hey, KaTrina, what are some of the ways you're following up? Are they similar to Mary Beth's tactics, or do you take a different approach?
Well, I'm still learning this whole thing. You know, I learn something every day. My follow-up, like I said, I'm all over the place. I'm a person who prefers to be outside. I want to be outside. I want to be in front of people. I like talking to people. I'm not really a person who stands behind a computer, so I have to have somebody help me with that part. So my admin definitely helps me with that, because I just want to be outside talking. I want to be around people. I go to new construction. I'm in there, you know, touring the new construction. I see people. If it's a solo person, I'm like, hey, how you doing? How do you like the house? You know, where's your agent? Oh, here's the card. Get involved in groups. I used to be a part of the country club. Go to dinners and networking events. I mean, you have to be in front of people. This is a relationship building business. I learned very early. I've been licensed for 7 years, and in my first 6 months of business, I realized that I did not want to do the paperwork. So I had to pay somebody to do that. My TC's been with me for almost 7 years, my whole business, because I did not want to do that. I want to talk. I want to get in front of the people. So be comfortable in your zone and find somebody else who can help you with the other stuff. Like, this could be a very, very lonely business if you don't have other people to help you with it. And you just got to be in the room with people who want to pour into you and see you thrive.
One thing that KaTrina said that was so true is be in groups of people. We do 7 client parties a year. A lot of people, especially if you're new age, you're going to be, oh my gosh. We do a shred event after tax day at our local community clubhouse. We do 2 ice cream socials, one when school is out in June, and again when school starts in August. We do a Washington Nationals baseball game for 150 people. We do a Halloween fall festival in October. We do a Thanksgiving pie where we do the reverse pop by, and I bring people to my home. Don't freak out. I bring people to my home, and I have 130 pies we give out every year the Sunday before Thanksgiving. Our granddaddy of them all is called our gratitude gathering. We'll have 100 people. We take them to a nice meal. For the last 2 years, we did it at Patsy's in Tyson's, but we've also done it at Sweetwater Tavern in Centerville on their patio. Client parties, when you group, and this is for the seasoned agents, anybody in over 2 years, I think. When you do a client party, the ice cream social is the most inexpensive. Local mom and pop shop, $300, $400. But if you do it a client party, you bring, as KaTrina said, groups of people together, and then they're all talking about you and telling each other how amazing they are. And that's how you're building the relationship. You'll have leverage when you do client parties.
Thank you, Mary Beth. We're getting close to time, but I think we're going to go a little over because we've got some really key questions I still want to get to, that the audience would like us to get to. So I'm not going to attack them in any particular order, but I'm going to ask the panel to break out your crystal balls. No, unfortunately, they may not exist, but I want you to break them out anyway for the next couple of questions. All right. No one's going to hold you to your answers. You know, just best guess, gut feel, your experience. Yeah. How do you see the market changing, be it inventory, interest rates, or anything else in the coming months? Omni?
So I see, I don't know specifically coming months, but the oscillation we just went through in the last 6 months of slowing down, speeding up, and making no sense how busy it is right now and slowing down. We're going to go through that oscillation multiple times. I personally think our interest rates are going to go above 10%. And so I've been saying that for a while. If you think to why they're raising the interest rates and what they're trying to accomplish with it, they haven't accomplished it yet. And so, in terms of, throttling inflation, and there's a lot of levers that they're balancing, but I believe they're going to go above 10% at some point, which is going to suck, but then we're going to get over it. And then we're going to figure out how to, be in that market. And then it's eventually going to come back down to where we are, maybe little bit lower, but that's probably a, 18 month to 2 year span. I would say over the next 18 months to 2 years, get really used to this mini oscillation that we just saw in the last 6 months, because it's going to happen multiple times.
This 2023 has been the craziest thing after we slowed down in 2022. And then all of a sudden the inventory continues to remain constrained. And so that's the problem, where sellers that do decide to sell and don't necessarily need to buy are still able to get their pricing despite the rates, because the inventory is still down. Now, until we become accepting of the new rates and we have some of the move-up buyers who decide that they have to sell. All right, right now it's pretty much you have a baby, getting married, military, job transfer, it's all the essentials, divorce. And so that's kind of how I have to target to generate business. But we'll have a much healthier market once the move-up buyers are starting to decide, hey, I really need to give up my 4% interest rate and suck it up and get this bigger house. And then once that is accepted into the market, which that's the crystal ball. I don't know whether I think it's going to be at least like 18 months to 2 years till we finally accept it. Then we'll see a much normal market, no matter what the rates are, where we're pushed away from that 2-3%, which is almost like free money.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Bold prognostications there. Took courage. I appreciate that.
Don't hold me to it. I don't.
No, we're not going
to. Because I've been wrong because I'm waiting for the market to be more agreeable to more investments. And it's hard. The inventory, when it's so constrained, it's just a difficult thing despite the rates.
Yeah,
That just means we need to talk to more people.
Well, that's what I do. I don't have a problem. I'm selling. So speak on what you talked about. I'm old school. Mike Ferry says, put everything on paper. So talk about lead follow-up. I got a hit list. So like literally this morning, I called the client whose DocuSign is out to him. I said, look, I just sold 3 listings in the last 8 days. And my next 2 listings aren't coming on till next week. You got 7 days for me to get your house sold. Let's get this thing signed so I can get this done. So that's the scenario that we're in. We can't keep inventory in the house. So I got to keep generating to find new inventory, because everything does move.
I follow Brian Buffini, of course, and I follow Darren Hardy, and I also think it's strong and encouraging everybody to pay attention to Lawrence Yun, the NAR's chief economist, who's here in Northern Virginia, lives in Arlington, Alexandria. I think it's so important to listen to what they're saying. Buffini does a bold predictions twice a year. He does it in July and he does it in December, and he talks about the next 6 months, the next 12 months. And I really think it's fun because we all have different opinions. I really feel the interest rates are going to go down, as Buffini and Lawrence Yun have said, in 2024. So I think, but it's exactly to what Cornelius said. If you've got to move because of a job transfer, you're having more babies, divorce, or military, whatever, those are the people that are going to have to sell. So many people don't want to give up that low interest rate. So I believe it's keeping your nose to the ground and keeping in touch with people, but really following the leaders on a national level of what they're saying about the economic forecast of our future.
Cornelius mentioned 18 to 24 months. We look at a blend of the Fannie, Freddie, and MBA projections on mortgage applications, and that seems to indicate 18 to 24 months as well. So just as an FYI to support your going out on the limb there, Cornelius. All right, there's about 3 more questions I have to hit. One is another crystal ball question. Where do you see the future of your profession heading?
I think Mary Beth should start this one because she's seen more of the experience, so she's gonna know. Like,
okay, I know there's a lot of stuff going on about AI and Chat GPT and all that good stuff. I think for us to stay on top of our profession, we have to continue to be educated like we educate our clients. So I do go to 4 Buffini seminars a year. And I also do Darren Hardy's BMC Business Masterclass to be a business owner. It's a big price tag, but it's so worth it. He's doing one next week and he's doing one in October. BMC Darren Hardy Business Masterclass. But I really think I love I don't know if it was KaTrina or if it was Tim or whoever said it earlier too. We have to communicate. Communication is key. We have to stay on top. We have to be in good relationships with our profession. That's the whole thing about mentoring. That's the whole thing about writing personal notes after the end of a transaction, thanking the agent on the other side, even reaching out to the agents. It's all about that communication. So I think our profession, people open doors, not computers. People open doors, and we have to remember that. And if we take care of our relationships within our own database, whether it's 5,000 or 15,000, like KaTrina said, I'd be freaking. I only have like 450 because we weed, we fertilize and we weed. But I think we have to communication in our database and communication in our profession. And that's networking with other agents and finding, as Cornelius said, finding the best of the best and go be with them, go shadow them, travel around the country, wherever you have to go. Always, there's a saying in Buffini's office, it's called Incado Imparo, and it's always learning. We have to always be willing to learn, and they're not going to do away with us. There you go. As long as I'm living, they're still going to need us. And that's my final answer.
Tim,
So
oh, go ahead, Cornelius. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, so there's all kind of people say, hey, travel agents went away, everything, things of that sort. What I would just say is, even in my presentations, I will even mention, hey, you can always hire a firm and go for the cheapest rate. Absolutely, that's available to you. You always have that. And here's what you'll get. And you have to make that decision. I'm fully transparent. And what it is about, like last night in the listing presentation, I unfortunately had to explain to a seller and just made her laugh, and please don't kill me with this information. You're overpriced your home by $200,000. And you did not, like, the renovation, it is brand new, but it's not a renovation. You just had a very bad agent, unfortunately, bad information. And I had to communicate that. And she just appreciated, she was so grateful, because one agent walked through, was like, this is not an open floor plan, I can't sell it, and just walked out. Those are the agents who the public wants to replace, because they're not communicating, there's no empathy, there's 100% greed, there's all of these things, and they're tired of it. The public is saying, hey, we're tired of that. The people who literally support their clients, most of my referrals, while I'm not a Buffini agent, my clients do refer me and say, hey, Cornelius is going to look out for your best interest before his own. Just yesterday, ratified a contract where I said, I would negotiate this harder, but I know you may have an aneurysm if you lose this deal, if you lose this contract. So we need to tiptoe. So I verbally countered, got the terms and got it done, and she was happy. But is listening to your clients and communicating, and no computer is going to be able to do that. And if our standards are raised in the industry and we do that, we're good. But people just have to raise their standards and not just think, hey, I'm going to go into real estate and get a quick buck. That's my 2 cents. Sorry, that was a mini rant.
No, that was great. That was great. Did anyone else want to comment on the future of your profession? No?
I would say just real quick, in up cycles, we get a lot, many more agents getting into the business, right? It's just, the shiny object, easy, because everyone's making money in real estate. You go outside, trip, bump into somebody, you're going to sell a home, right? You make some money that way. But the reality is, in a down market or a slower market, it's really where the industry titans are made. If you have the skill set to cycle through multiple, ups and down markets, you're going to last, like Mary Beth, 30 plus years and become a top producer in any market there is, because you got to learn the fundamentals. So, I enjoy slower markets because it does weed out the less professional agents, and it shows the agents that are willing to put in their time to invest in themselves, to become professional and to run their business like a business, and they'll be in it for the long run.
You have to add value.
I like what Mary Beth was talking about earlier, how her, business is referral business. The thing is, people like doing business with people who they know, like, and trust. And the thing is, we have so much information coming at us. I mean, I'm sure each of us could open up our emails, and you probably have so many mortgage people hitting you up, so many home inspectors, a whole bunch of stuff. And you got to weed through that. So what happens? You get a leak the first thing you do is say, don't let me go online and search for you. Pick up the phone and says, hey, who do you know? A good plumber that can come over, because a referral is so much better, because now you got somebody that you may have credibility with, somebody that you've used that you can recommend and probably will give a good deal. So I don't think that we'll be irrelevant. Yeah, some people are gonna go out there and they're gonna go online and go to Open Door and different things to try to get one. But after they get burned a couple of times, typically they come back because after that bad experience and say, hey, that didn't work out like I thought it was, because you get what you pay for. And then they come back and say, hey, then they really want to talk to somebody and, you know, lament on how bad their experience are, and you help them lick their wounds, and then you kind of guide them to the right way, and they have that high touch. So I just think, you know, we won't be irrelevant. Yeah, some going to go here and there, but for the most part, I think people still generally want somebody to grab them by the hand, because there's so much information that they need somebody to walk them through it.
Mhm. Thank you, Tim. I'm going to wrap this up with a couple of commercial questions, okay? I want you to give us an idea of how you found your commercial mentor, by getting you into that. So some of the folks that asked us about breaking into commercial, give them a little guidance where to find that mentor. And then also tell us about the multiple offer strategies for growing your investment portfolio, if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. So we touched on this earlier, finding your mentor. I mean, you got to be in those circles first, right? You start within your team, your brokerage, then you're going in within your association. If there's a local meetup specific to that asset class or commercial in general, show up and just start telling people, here's what I want to do. And it's not, thinking back to when I was trying to find my first mentor, I didn't go up to somebody and say, hey, do you want to be my mentor? Right? That's not how it works. I got to figure out, how could I add value to them? Right? Because they're busy. They're like, they probably get asked all the time, can you coach me? Can you mentor me? That's not what they're looking to do. So figuring out, what can you add value to someone in their current situation? And so through conversation, you're figuring out what are their pain points. And I just insert myself and say, hey, I'm going to show up. I'm going to help you with this. I have some experience, and you're going to offer to help them. And in exchange, hopefully that turns into a mentor-mentee type of relationship. It's often, it starts out informal, and then you're going to formalize maybe a mentorship or a coaching down the road. So that's got to get in the right rooms to make that happen. And then to your second question, the multiple offer strategy is something that I personally, whenever I buy real estate, I bought hundreds of properties personally over the years. And the reality is, starting out, I'm always trying to figure out what's the best offer for this property for this seller. And you don't always know, because you might not have a direct line of communication. They might not be open, but not every seller is only concerned about the bottom line. The bottom line is very important, but there are so many other factors in there. So for example, I bought a property out in Winchester, Virginia. And, my first offer, so it was a fixer upper, and if someone, couldn't get much information out of them, there's potential structural issues, they disclosed it. And I came in with a cash offer first, and the cash offer, let's just say it was $200,000. They were asking like 240-ish or so. So it was lower than what they had, but that's the max I can offer as a cash offer. And my second offer, I offered a second offer on the same day. I said, okay, I can offer you higher. My cash offer, this is the highest I can go, and we can close in 3 days. And we're gonna close. It makes sense for us. But if you're willing to give me 45 days to get through inspections and appraisals and all that stuff, I can offer you exactly what you're asking for. And so I offered them a full offer price, but it was contingent upon home inspection, appraisals, and a few other things. And my third offer to them was, I actually offered them $30,000 higher than their asking price if they were willing to hold it back and keep some seller financing. So basically less money out of my pocket. So they had a 200,000, a 240, and a 270 offer. They ended up choosing the lowest price offer, right? So they got to choose between quick, like no hassle, not worrying about what's going to show up in the inspection, versus highest price, but we got to go through all these, inspections and appraisals, and we don't know what's going to happen to them. For whatever reason, it was more important to them to close quickly. And I couldn't tell that up front, right? So I typically try to get 2 to 3 offers to every seller, give them multiple strategies. And for me as an investor, when I buy something, I rarely plan to sell it. I typically buy and hold forever, and it's all about the cash flow. So I can afford to pay a little bit more as long as it does cash flow, and they're giving me an amazing seller financing rate for 5 years. And so each of those three offers end up being the same to me, net wise, return on investment wise, but they're much different to them, and they get to pick what's most important to them. So that strategy probably doubled my acceptance rate once I started to implement that as an investor.
Very interesting, very helpful. Appreciate that, Omni. We need to get to the announcement of the grand prize winner for the margarita machine. So I'm going to wrap up the panel, but I want to thank all of the panelists. Y'all did a terrific job today. Really appreciate it. Made my job easier, and I know we're going to get a lot of positive feedback from the audience. So thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
That's, yeah, my pleasure. We'll do it again.
Absolutely.
Same time next year. Before we award the grand prize, those of you who've worked with us know that MBH is positioned for your success. For over 29 years, MBH and District Title have served you and your clients in DC, Maryland, Virginia, and West Virginia. With a broad portfolio of title and settlement services provided by our experienced attorneys and title professionals, MBH is proud to offer services in both residential and commercial real estate transactions, including acquisitions, refinances, wholesaling, hard money lending, condo conversions, and developer transactions. In fact, District Title's dedicated commercial and investment team is known for handling the most complex transactions. And now for an exciting announcement. Responding to the changing needs of our broad client base, MBH is pleased to announce the addition of Principal 1031, a real estate investment 1031 qualified intermediary to the MBH settlement group. Through Principal 1031, MBH and District Title clients can now work seamlessly with us while also relying on Principal 1031 to deliver outstanding service facilitating 1031 exchanges for your real estate investments. You can learn more by visiting principal1031.com. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, now announcing our grand prize winner for the huge margarita machine. Lynn Spiegel, congratulations. Now, I'd like to thank the entire audience for logging into the panel today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I hope you'll take advantage of our educational classes, which begin in about 15 minutes at 12:30. And I look forward to seeing you at one of our happy hours later today, starting at 4:30, DC, Tyson, Stafford, and Gainesville. Thank you all so much. God bless and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.